Hey, good afternoon, Professor Van Sickle. Today I'm going to take you somewhere most businesses are afraid to go. Not into a market where you have to fight harder, cut prices more, or out advertise your rivals. I'm talking about a place where competition simply doesn't exist. That's the core idea behind Blue Ocean Strategy, a framework developed by W. Chan Kim and Renée Mauborgne. After spending more than a decade studying how companies create lasting profitable growth. By the end of this presentation, hopefully you'll understand not just what the strategy is, but how it works, where it works best, and why it may be the most important strategic concept you encounter, or at least I have encountered in this course. Let's dive in. So let me give you a quick roadmap of where we're headed throughout this presentation. Blue Ocean Strategy was published in 2005. It's based on research across over 150 strategic moves in 30 plus industries spanning more than 100 years. The findings were consistent. The companies that broke out of their industries and created massive new demand all had something in common. They stopped playing by the old rules. We're going to unpack that through 8 topics. We'll start with the big picture concept, work through how the strategy redefines competition, explore the industries where it thrives, and then apply it through frameworks you already know, the 4 Ps of marketing and Porter's 5 forces. And we'll close with a question a lot of people ask. Is there any blue oceans left in today's market? So let us begin. All right. So, on this big picture slide, the entire foundation of the book rests on one simple but powerful metaphor. Imagine the market as an ocean. In a red ocean, the ocean most businesses are swimming in, the boundaries are defined. The rules are known, and every company is fighting for the same fish. Competition is brutal, margins shrink, products start to look identical. You're essentially fighting a war of attrition, and the only winners are whoever can hold on the longest. A blue ocean is something completely different. It is uncontested market space, a body of water no one else has found yet, where demand doesn't need to be fought over because you created it. The key insight from Kim and Mauborgne is that blue oceans aren't found, they're made. Companies don't stumble into them. They design their way through. The authors call them value innovation, simultaneously driving up value for the customer while driving down costs. Not one or the other, both at the same time. Why this matters right now, here's here's a statistic that puts this in perspective. In 1958, the average company on the S&P 500 lasted 61 years. Today, that number is under 18. Industries are being disrupted faster than ever. The companies that survive are the ones creating new markets, not just defending old ones. That's not just strategic observation, it's a survival imperative. The traditional view, when most people think of a competitor, they think about someone selling the same thing. If you sell coffee, your competitor is whoever else sells coffee. If you're an airline, your competitors are other airlines. It's an industry-centric, product-centric definition. Under that lens, strategy becomes a zero-sum game. You're basically deciding how to take someone else's customers. You differentiate or you cut costs. Porter's framework assumes you must choose one. Blue Ocean Strategy completely reframes this. A competitor isn't just a firm selling a similar product. It's anyone or anything competing for the customer's time, money, and attention. That's a much wider net. Cirque du Soleil is the perfect example. When they launched, they didn't benchmark against other circuses. They asked, why do people spend money on entertainment? What are they actually getting out of it? And they discovered that theater, ballet, and opera were their real competition, not Ringling Bros. That shift in perspective from who else does what we do to who else is solving the same need is what opens the door to a blue ocean. It also means non-customers become just as important as current customers. In fact, the 3 tiers of non-customers are where most untapped demand hides. Now, one important clarification, blue ocean strategy can work in any industry, but there are certain conditions that it's almost irresistible. Commoditized industries, where products look the same, prices racing to the bottom, and customers don't care about brand loyalty. Those are the most fertile grounds. Take technology. The iPhone is a textbook case. In 2007, the smartphone market existed. Palm, BlackBerry, and Nokia. They were all competing on features and keyboards. Apple came in and didn't compete at all. They created a category. People who had never considered a smartphone suddenly needed one. Or look at aviation. Southwest Airlines didn't try to be better than United Airlines. They asked, why do people drive on long trips? Because flying is expensive, complicated, and unfriendly? Southwest eliminated all that. They created a new space between the car and the plane. Their competition wasn't Delta, it was the highway. And Yellowtail wine is my personal favorite case. Wine had always been marketed to wine drinkers. Yellowtail looked at the other people who ordered beer at dinner and said, what if wine was made for them? Simple, fun, no intimidating labels. They became the fastest growing imported wine in US history. The pattern is the pattern is consistent. Find the customers you're ignoring and build for them. Now let's connect blue oceans to a framework we all know well. The 4 Ps of marketing. Product, price, place, and promotion. Under traditional strategy, each of these in a competition lever. Under blue ocean, each one becomes a tool for value creation. Product in blue ocean, the product doesn't need to be better than the competitions. It needs to be different in a way that matters deeply to the customer who've been overlooked. Kim and Mauborgne introduced the ERRC framework for this. Eliminate, reduce, raise, create. What do you strip away from the customers don't actually want? What do you add that the industry has never offered? Cirque du Soleil eliminated expensive animal acts. They created theatrical storylines. Same circus category, completely different value proposition. Pricing in Blue Ocean isn't about premium or budget. It's about reaching the mass market. The goal is to set a price that makes the offering broadly accessible while making imitation expensive. If you price too high, you limit adaptation. If you price too low, you can't sustain. The author called this price corridor of the mass, the sweet spot. Where you place customers matters as much as what you offer. Yellowtail went to supermarkets. Casper went direct to customers online. Warby Parker did the same for glasses. These companies didn't use existing distribution channels. They built new ones that matched where the target non-customers already were. Here's what's fascinating. In a blue ocean, you're not promoting against competitors. There are none. Your promotion focuses entirely on communicating the new value you've created. You're not saying we're better than the brand X. You're saying that this is something brand X could never give you. That's a completely different message to a completely different audience. Porter's Five Forces is one of the most powerful analytical tools in strategy. It helps you understand the competitive dynamics in existing markets, who has power, where the pressure comes from, how attractive an industry is to enter. It's brilliant for red ocean analysis, but here's the thing. Blue ocean strategy doesn't reject Porter's framework. It renders it irrelevant by changing the game entirely. Let's walk through each force. Competitive rivalry. This is the central force in Porter. The intensity of direct competition. In a blue ocean, you eliminate it. If you created a market that didn't exist before, you have no rivals. There's no one to compete with yet. Threat of new entrants. Blue ocean companies actually reduce this threat over time by building brand loyalty early. The first mover advantage in a new market space is significant. By the time competitors recognize what you've done, you've already enriched. Threat to substitutes. This is where it gets interesting. Blue Ocean strategy actually uses the substitute threat as a discovery tool. Why do customers switch to a substitute? What need isn't being met? That gap is often where Blue Ocean lives. Buyer power and supplier power. Both of these are reduced in a Blue Ocean. When your offering is unique, buyers can't comparison shop. When you're building a new market, you're often building a new supplier relationship too, which means you're not locked into existing dependencies. The bottom line, Porter gives you the map of an existing ocean. Blue Ocean Strategy hands you a compass to sail somewhere new. I want to address something that comes up almost every time someone encounters a new framework. And is this concept relevant? In a world this competitive, this connected, this fast moving, are there really uncontested markets left behind? Absolutely. In fact, I'd argue we're living in one of the most blue ocean rich eras in history because technology is constantly breaking up old industries and creating new needs faster than companies can respond. AI powered personalization in healthcare, education, and finance. There's no dominant player yet. The senior care market is massive and deeply underserved as the global population ages. Mental health tech is addressing a crisis that the traditional healthcare system has largely failed to solve at scale. Emerging market, EdTech is serving 300 million students who have no access to quality education. Space commerce is barely at its beginning. These aren't hypothetical opportunities. These are active blue oceans right now, waiting for the first company to build the right strategy around them. The author puts it well. Blue oceans have always existed and will always exist. The only question is whether you have the courage and creativity to sail into them. So let me bring it all together. Blue ocean strategy isn't just a clever metaphor or a management trend. It's a systematic, research-backed approach to building businesses that don't compete, they create. Kim and Mauborgne give us the tools, the strategy canvas, the ERRC framework, the four action framework, tipping point leadership. Every one of them is designed to help you see past the noise of existing competition and find the white space. One one of the five things I want you to walk away with. Well, I want you to walk away with all five. One is the market is not fixed. It's constructed. Every industry boundary you see was drawn by someone and it can be redrawn. Two, defining competition broadly reveals opportunities that narrow definitions hide. Your next customer may never have used the product, have used your product category before. Three, the four Ps and Porter's five forces are still valuable, but under blue ocean logic, they're applied differently. They become tools for creation, not just competition. Four, blue oceans are not accidents. They are the results of deliberate strategic thinking and a willingness to challenge industry assumptions. And five, they're everywhere right now, waiting. As Kim Mulborn wrote, value innovation is the cornerstone of blue ocean strategy. Not beating competitors, not cutting costs, creating value that didn't exist before. That is what distinguishes companies that last from companies that fade. And I hope today's presentation gave you that clear picture of how to think that for any business in any industry. Thank you for watching my presentation, Lee. My presentation. Hopefully you enjoyed it.